Okay, I am super excited to be doing this tonight. We are going to be talking about, is your adrenal fatigue or the exhaustion that you're dealing with related to your genetics? Is it a genetic predisposition? What do genetics have to do with it? Why do I have to do genetic testing? Should I do genetic testing? So let's talk about who this is for first of all. Number one, those that are exhausted, burnt out, frustrated, not getting the answers they're looking for, being told that their tests are normal, being told that there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue, not being able to focus, not being able to concentrate, crashing in the middle of the day, not having regeneration of your batteries, going to bed, maybe not falling asleep right away, waking up several times throughout the evening, waking up in the morning with very little energy, having hormonal imbalances, not handling your stressors well, feeling like you're in sympathetic fight or flight. How many of those things do you have? Raise your hand. You have almost all of them. A lot of people will tell me, when you mention these things, I feel like you're talking exactly to me. Well, I am talking exactly to you because I know who you are. I've had what you've had, and I don't have it anymore. So who am I? My name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja. And today I want to talk to you about one of the most important things that I think not only you need to know as the person that's suffering with an exhaustion and fatigue problem needs to know, but doctors need to know. Healthcare practitioners need to know. Health coaches need to know. Nutritionists need to know. They need to know this because the genetics is really the 30,000 view feet of what is going on susceptibility wise in your body. And that's what I want to explain to you tonight, because nothing is more frustrating than going to the doctor and telling them that you're burnt out, you can't focus, you think you have stress overload, you think there's something called adrenal fatigue, and they laugh at you. Like, seriously, like, where's your bedside manner? What's funny about that? Why do I like to suffer? Why would I go through a suffering, ridiculing, not being able to solve the problem, spend tens of thousands of dollars, miss out on my life, not work at full capacity, see my life pass me by in front of my very eyes? What's funny about that? Nothing is funny about that. Or what is to be ridiculed about that? Or why are you telling me to go to a psychologist? Or why are you telling me to just start to chill out more, or go exercise, or eat healthy, when you yourself don't even look healthy? Seriously, why are you telling me that? So this is who this is for. This is not for someone who thinks that this is a magic pill solution. Or, most importantly, as we're talking about genetics, this is not for someone who thinks that you're going to find the gene, that you're going to find the one gene, the MTHFR gene. I got the MTHFR gene, and I'm taking methylfolate, and I crossed it off my list, and now I'm going on to the next shiny object. That's not who this is for. This is for someone who's frustrated, who knows there's some kind of genetic component, who knows that they are missing something. They know that there is something there that they're not being told, and inherently they want to get their lives back. They don't enjoy sitting on the sidelines. They don't enjoy seeing their friends do the things that they want to do. They don't enjoy saying, hey, I feel like I can go out, let's make plans. And then when the plans come, they have to cancel last minute because their eyes were bigger than their stomach. This is who this is for. So let's talk about that. So first and foremost, the most frustrating thing is most doctors don't believe in adrenal fatigue. Why is that? Because it's not a nice, wrap it up in a bow and present it as, here's your definitive findings. It's not taught in medical school. It's not looked at in the research. And doctors don't understand or even get into understanding all the components that go into it. Secondly, doctors don't get taught about genetics. They don't get taught about methylation. They don't get taught. They do kind of in biochemistry, but that's not applicable. It's not applying it to real life. It's not applying it to, hey, if I have exposures to chemicals and toxins and pesticides and sprays and pathogens and heavy metals and molds and chemicals, and my body gets exposed to those. What kind of burden does that put on my body? How is my body suited to be able to rid these chemicals? And how can I do that if I'm not getting the same nutrients in the soils and foods, if I'm eating really, synthetic, processed, GMO-based, mineral deficient foods? How am I supposed to solve this mystery? Doctors aren't looking at how the genetic component is related to that. And so many people tell me, hey, I've done saliva testing, I've done even the Dutch testing, I've done blood work, cortisol, I've done an ACTH test, and nothing comes back. What do you suggest? And I say, you need to get a genetic test. And they look at me dumbfounded, like, what does genetics have to do with anything? And genetics has to do with everything, because over 250 cellular processes in the body require proper methylation activity. So we're talking about stress, your neurotransmitters, your neurochemicals, your immune system, your inflammatory pathways, your rebuilding your body, your hormone balance, your ability to deal with histamines, your ability to produce energy. These are the things you need to be able to do biochemically in the body. And when you have environmental toxins and environmental things and stressors that impact your life and overlap with the perfect storm, you are not seeing the complete picture. I hope that makes sense. It really, really fires me up, because this is something that needs to be taught. It needs to be a healthcare revolution, so doctors know about this, so we can help you. That's what we need to do. So anyways, doctors don't get taught about this. And you know what I told you long time ago, if you've been following me for some time, that this is war. It's war. You are either going to win the battle or lose the battle. You're either doing things that are more proactive every day to get your life back, or you're not. It's not one way or the other. Now, you're human. You're going to slip up. You're going to trip up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make bad decisions. You're going to give in into indulgences and, have that pizza. I love pizza. I can't do pizza. I'm highly, highly reactive to gluten. And every time I do, it's not worth it for me. So, you dip and dive. You get better. You say, hey, that wasn't worth it. I don't like feeling bloated and brain foggy and joint painy and fatigued and tired. I don't like that. So you know what? Next time it comes time to, make a choice for a pizza, I'm not going to do it. It's not worth it. Right? But I don't beat myself up inside and say, hey, Joel, you're a terrible person. You should never have done that. You're dumb. You're stupid. People don't like you. I mean, those are the impressions that you make in your head that impact the genetic component, because you can think about and you can, how you process it and what meaning you put on your decisions and your stressors impact how stress hormones, how neurochemicals are released. And if you have genetic susceptibilities that aren't good at producing them or eliminating them or putting out fires, then you're going to deplete your raw materials quicker, right? Does that make sense? I'm hoping it does. So anyways, the reality is that both are very real. Both meaning genetic testing is very, very relevant, and not just MTHFR. I think as I'm talking about this, that you shouldn't even be allowed as a doctor to do an MTHFR test. You shouldn't, because it's incomplete. That's like saying, hey, today on today's CBC test, we're only going to do red blood cells. That's it. And I'm going to make a decision. Your red blood cells are normal, so everything's fine. Your glucose is fine. Your iron is fine. Your fatty acids are fine. Your inflammatory chemicals are fine. Your minerals are fine. Everything's fine because your red blood cells are fine. That's the analogy. If you just only do an MTHFR test, it really is. They're very, very real. So why does every adrenal fatigue sufferer need to do a genetic test? Why do we need to do that? Well, hopefully from my little introduction, you got some information about why that is, but you're looking for answers, right? You want the answers. You know something is missing. You want to go upstream. You're not dumb. It's not for the lack of trying. It's not for the lack of wanting. It's not like you want to spend tens of thousands of dollars on not getting the answers. It's not like you want to be working part-time and making half the amount of income that you're making, or not even being able to hold a job. And it's not that you want to be able to be exhausted and tired and chained to your couch. You don't want those things. You want answers. You want to get to the root cause of the problem. And most importantly, you want to get your life back. That's why you need to do a genetic test. So it helps unlock the hidden health mystery. And when we go over the pyramid, Dr. John Thomas and I are putting together our repackaging of the MTHFR crash course. It's coming out soon, so make sure you stick around. And we're going to be launching our Your Genetic Type website and our entire enterprise. It's going to be super awesome. There's 7 genetic types that we're going to be teaching you about. But today we're just going to be talking about why an adrenal fatigue sufferer needs a genetic test. So it helps to provide answers. It's a 30,000 view feed. It tells me, hey, where are your most prioritized susceptibilities? And what does that have to do with your actual life? Like, I'm going to be a doctor and I'm going to do the old thing of caring and asking you questions and paying attention and trying to be like Sherlock Holmes, right? Like, well, tell me about when you were, what happened after your major stressor? When did it all start? What makes it better? What makes it worse? What have you tried to make it better? What have you tried to make it worse? What about, any type of roadblocks that you may have been experienced? And what I mean by that are chemicals. Have you had antibiotics? Have you had to take medications? What clues can we get? Talk to you like you're a real patient and you want to get answers. That's what this is about. When you want to get answers, you have to marry the genetic component with the environmental component and see where those top 5 susceptibilities are. Like, hey, you're really, really bad at putting fires out. So God forbid, you knock on wood, you have an inflammatory low-grade, flame going on in your body. Viruses, pathogens, parasites, mold, candida yeast, bacteria, all those pathogens, nanobacteria, all of those things are going to impact your ability to put fires out susceptibility wise. If your genetics don't allow you to use your nutrients to put out fires effectively, and you got a fire going on, then I know that's going to be your weak link, right? I mean, does that make sense? Totally. Or what if your weak link is you have histamine problems? So the environment, danders, pets, pollens, even, stressors, your immune system, foods, if they release histamines and you're not a good histamine putter-outer and you have some genetic susceptibilities and you live near a very pollinated area, or there's lots of pets in your area, or there's danders or whatever, you're creating a perfect storm, right? And I need to know about that. That's why you need to do a genetic test. So why do you need to do a genetic test? Most importantly, let me paint a scenario for you. So close your eyes, imagine you walking into your pantry, opening it up, and thinking that you've mistaken yourself for a pharmacy or for a little bit of a nutrition center, right? I mean, you open it up, and I'm guilty of it because I will make lots of recommendations for you guys to do that. But I don't want to just throw crap at the wall and see what sticks, right? Because I want to know what are going to be the best nutrients for your genetic susceptibilities and for your environmental triggers and for where you're not able to complete that cycle, meaning it's assembly line of workers. And if you have an assembly worker that's not at their post, then the widget at the end of the assembly line is not going to be made, right? So nutritional wise, we can figure out what the starting product is, what the supporting product is, what the end product is, and what the things are that are impacting those things from happening. Like maybe you're not digesting your proteins. Maybe you don't have enough stomach secretions. Maybe you have a lot of microbial disturbances. Those are the things that I'm going to need to know to make that widget, because that widget is very, very important for you to be able to put out fires. And if you're not putting out fires, you have low-grade inflammation, and that's draining all your batteries. And guess what it does? It impacts your thyroid. and it can make reverse T3 go really high, and it can make your total T3 go really low. So your cellular thyroid function, how much is getting into the cell, how many logs are getting on the fire to burn to create cellular activity, is really, really low. You should be putting 10 or more logs of fire on the fire for T3 to compare to reverse T3. But if you're putting less than 10, you got 4 logs on the fire, and you look at your TSH and it's fine. And you look at your T4 and it's fine. And the doctor tells you there's no problem. Or let's play whack-a-mole. Let's just give you more T4, more T3, and you feel better, great. And when you feel worse, we'll go up and we'll go down. And we'll hit that whack-a-mole until it goes down. Never getting to the root cause of the problem, because susceptibility-wise, you're not crossing those bridges, and those assembly line workers are not there to be able to make that end product widget. And you're, so far downstream trying to play whack-a-mole. Am I right? I mean, seriously. The only problem about Facebook Lives is I hate the fact that I don't see your questions. So what I want you to do is ask questions, and I'll be able to go back into the Facebook Live and answer your questions afterwards. So I apologize about that. So most importantly, we want your genetic test so that we can look at the specific nutrients and not guess. And some of the cases that we work with, great clients, they show up to win, and we know when we are in the right area, they get really bad because that nutrient was either too much or the exact opposite. And I think that's awesome news, because now I can reverse engineer what happened. What's going on? Why did that happen? How do your genetic susceptibilities and your environmental triggers overlap for that to happen? Did we take too much? Did we not have supporting nutrients? Did we forget to put something else in there to support it? And now we're really getting good quality information. So here's my own quote. You're really cool when you put your own quote in there. So with every single Adrenal Awakening patient that I work with, I do a genetic variation test. Now, this is brand new. I was doing 23andMe so many years ago, and it's really depleted and incomplete. Then I started doing Ancestry.com, and it's not bad, I won't lie. But when you do the functional genomic analysis, you're getting over 20,000 gene SNPs put in a database to be able to correlate your symptoms, your test results, and the data that's being studied on all the people that are in that database to see which are the relevant genes. And now you get some really high quality information. So I don't work with anybody without looking at their genetic test first. I don't. So the pyramid. This pyramid is a really cool pyramid. So what it has to do is it gives us priorities. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but you'll see that MTHFR and folate are at the very top. And I like the analogy now that if you just only did your MTHFR, it'd be like saying, hey, I only did my red blood cell test and my blood cell tests are normal, and so everything's fine. I like that analogy, but these are the priorities. Ammonia, if you have heavy metals or you have viruses, or you have pesticides or sprays or chemicals, your body is really demanding to produce nutrients to put those out, and you may be producing excess ammonia, or you may be producing sulfites, or you may be, your neurotransmitters may be impacted, or your mitochondria is tired, or you may have mast cell activation, or you have iron dysregulation, or you're not able to recycle your antioxidants. Super important. So that's what we do once we get your genetic test back. We put it on a priority system and look at your pyramid. But what I want to talk to you about is the adrenals, right? Because we're talking about the exhausted, adrenally burnt out person. And so I want you to think about, why would I need genetic testing for a person that is adrenally challenged, is exhausted and burnt out and doesn't handle stress and is in fight or flight all the time? Number one, what do the adrenals do? They settle down inflammation. And I can't tell you, probably 10 out of 10 people that I do a genetic test for have crappy firefighters. And what that means is, instead of being so good looking, I tell my clients, you should have asked your parents for a better firefighter career. You should have. because ultimately the environment that we live in produces oxidation, like rust, right? It produces oxidized nutrients, and they're devoid of nutrients. There's not a good lot of quality nutrients in there. And so you put that perfect storm of crappy, minerally deficient nutrients with chemically ridden nutrients with crappy firefighters, you got a whole lot of fire and a whole lot of nothing in terms of water. And adrenals are responsible for selling inflammation. Number one. Number two, fluid balance, electrolytes, minerals. Your adrenals are responsible for that. And what runs your mitochondria? What runs your energy cycles? Minerals. And what depletes them? Fires. Hence, your adrenals are going to be that weak link in the chain. And then also, your body needs the adrenals to make energy, to be able to combust and use glucose as a fuel source, or at least put glycogen and break it down and put glucose into the cell so that you have energy to be able to deal with your stressors. And if you have mitochondrial SNPs, if you have oxidation, if you have problems with your neurotransmitters, we're not even talking about MTHFR. We're not. So don't tell me that, yeah, I've done an MTHFR test and I crossed it off my list. Nothing irks me more than people telling me, oh, I've already done genetic testing. Okay, perfect. What are you doing about it? Oh, I've already crossed it off my list. I don't have the MTHFR. It's fine. It's not a problem. Hopefully, watch this again and realize it is a problem, because it's only your red blood cells in a complete blood count test. Anyways, so when you're under constant, repeated, continual stress, it impacts your brain, and your brain signals your adrenal glands, and then you become chronically activated. And now you're depleting your cycles, your metabolism, your thyroid, your hormones. Everything is involved. Everything is being impacted. And that's why you need to do a genetic test. We talked about over 250 cellular processes require these energy systems to work properly, from making energy, repairing your DNA. How many of you guys have chronically low white blood cells? And the doctor said, oh, it's just one of those things you got to deal with. It's not. It's not one of those things you got to deal with. Or how many of you have been told that your Epstein-Barr virus is an old virus and you don't have to worry about it, and there's nothing that we can do about it? You know what? When a doctor tells you there's no cure for something, I'm going to get in trouble with this statement, it means that no drug has been patented yet to fix it. That's what it means. It really does. So Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, herpes virus. I'd like to be in the room with you when the doctor does a herpes virus test on you, sees that your antibodies are high for IgG, which is classical endocrinology. They tell you, oh, it's a past infection. And then you say, well, what's this? What's this cold sore right here that just broke out last week? Is this a past infection? Because it's IgG. It's not. It's a reactivation of a past infection. Go and study your research that you produce in your own medical journals that you don't get to learn until 17 years later. It's so aggravating. Go learn. Don't condescend me. You're the one, not me, you, right? It also helps deal with stress. Your neurochemicals. I just want to say neurochemicals and transmitters at the same time. But it helps you make those. And if you're stressed out and you need to make dopamine and adrenaline and glutamate and GABA and serotonin, and you don't have the raw materials, and you're not recycling those raw materials, and you're depleting those raw materials, you're not going to fix it with taking TSH hormones. You're not. It's not going to happen. It supports your immune system. You fight off infections. You detoxify. The world, unfortunately, I don't like to think of things as the sky is falling, but the world is pretty toxic nowadays, and we're under more stress, and we have multiple windows open in our mind like a computer does when you're running, hey, let me go check my bank statement. Let me go check my email. Let me go check my Facebook. Let me go check YouTube. You got 12 different windows going on at the same time. You have that metaphorically in your mind. You don't go very deep. when you have to go back into another train of thought, it's like that window that didn't load properly because you can't run 12 things at the same time. And if you have genetic susceptibilities and one of your hot spots are your ability to make your neurochemicals and your neurotransmitters and your firefighters suck, guess what? TSH is not going to fix it. It's just not. So all of these require proper enzymatic function. And when you do a genetic test, you're looking at your enzymes, plain and simple. And by testing your DNA, you get to assess these enzymes, the antioxidants, and how good is your firefighter crew. You also get to look at your neurotransmitters and see where the balance of power is lying. Where's the breakdown? You could look at an organic acid test and marry that. You can look at a heavy metal test and marry that. You can look at a microbiome test. And if like I put like, almost like I'm a contractor, I put like the genetic test like it's a blueprint on my table, and then I listen to you and talk to you like you're a real patient and figure out what's working and what's not working. And the other missing ingredient is caring, right? Because if you're not caring about that patient, and I'll tell you, I won't care more than you, right? Because there's so many times where I'm kicking, you're kicking, you know, I'm sort of bringing you in and you're kicking and screaming. Oh no, that's not going to work. That is not going to work. If you're not going to care and you're not going to think about you getting your health back, is a battle, it is a war, and that it's life or death for you to get your health back, because you won't accept sitting on the sidelines and seeing other people that take their health for granted, but yet they can smoke a pack a day and they can still go out with their friends and they eat all the things that they want to do. And yet you're the one that's looked at like you're the weirdo and you can't go out because you're exhausted. I'll work with you, but you have to be willing to make changes and do whatever it takes. And most of you do. We also look at histamine. Histamine was at the bottom of the pyramid, and that's a huge thing. Histamine is from the environment, from the foods, from the stressors, from your immune system, from alcohol. All of those things will create excess histamine, and if you're not good at making your histamine nutrients to clear and your methylation cycle up top. Now, don't get me wrong, methylfolate, B12, SAMe, all those things have to be working for these things to be supplied. Like what I tell people is, if I pay your bills and we get you supporting your histamine, you still have to make income to pay your other bills. And if you're methylfolate, if you're SAMe, if you're B12, if your absorption, if your foods, if your stressors are depleting those and they're not working, then histamine support's not going to fix it, because you still have to fix those things up top, you know? We also look at digestion. This is an amazing part of doing a genetic test. Is when you do a genetic test, you can see, do you have histamine concerns? So let's lower your histamine foods. Do you have genetic oxalate concerns? Let's lower your oxalate foods. Do you have gluten reactivity? Let's get rid of the grains. Do you have a peanut or do you have a dairy or lactose problem? Let's remove that. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, now I'm not allowed to eat anything. Well, that's not true. We prioritize, right? Because we want to know what your perfect storm is, what's your environmental triggers, and what's your genetic susceptibilities, and let's prioritize. Let's do the 3 most important things that are going to make the 97% of the most important changes. And then once that happens, we can make 3 more changes and get 97% more improvement, right? That's how you go about doing it. It also looks at energy production. That's super important. We talked about that. Looks at how well does your body detox. Really, how well does it detox? And you know you feel toxic, right? That's one of the 7 genetic types, is the toxic type. You know, you've been around chemicals, you smell like ammonia, you have sulfur intolerances, you have brain fog, you like Pigpen from Peanuts. You have all that stuff going all over the place. That's what's going on. That's the toxic type. You need a genetic test. You're exhausted and you're burnt out. There's no such thing as adrenal fatigue, and genetics don't matter, right? Wrong. DNA repair. Hair. How many women out there, yeah, I'm losing my hair. If you're not genetically set up to repair, rebuild, put out fires, regenerate, support your immune system, balance your hormones, detoxify chemicals, guess what? Your weak link in the chain is your hair. It's falling out. You need to do I don't know if you've heard it or not, but I think it's pretty important to do a genetic test. I think you're getting the gist of that. So my secret weapon is I use the methyl-genetic nutritional analysis. I use that. So what I do is I work with people one-on-one, and we do one-off programs where we'll look at your methyl-genetic analysis, we'll run your DNA and give you a report. But what I want to do is I want those that are serious. I want those that are serious about getting their lives back. And if you don't have a genetic test, then the methyl-genetic analysis includes a test. And we do that for $395, and we do the genetic review for $595. So we do that for $395 and $595. Well, it's $990. That's what we do that for. And that includes a complete review, and that gives you the breakdown of the top 5 genes that you need to focus in on and look at your supplements. But what I also want to tell you is there's more to it than that. And it comes down to, are you metabolically flexible? How are you balancing your glucose? What's going on with your hormones? What's going on with your adrenals? What foods do you eat that you may have reactivity to? If that sounds like something you're more interested in doing, then what I'm going to give you an opportunity for is to do a 45-minute no-cost consultation with me. And what we do is we do 3 things on the call. Number 1, where are you right now? This is not for you to tell me what your blood test results are and send them in. That's not what this is for. This is to tell me, where are you right now? What's not working? Number 2, where do you want to be? What would it look like if you didn't have this problem? And number 3, why aren't you getting there? What have you tried? What are you doing? What's happening? What's going on? And then if I feel I can help you, I'll tell you everything that you need to do. I'll tell you that. So you have 2 opportunities. You have the ability to reply to this and have me look at your genetics and give you an idea on what's going on, or you have the ability to do a 45-minute consult, no cost. But with that one, don't be kicking the tires. Be the person that's totally devoted to getting their life back and is going to play to win. And I'm not going to care more than you. I'll care just as much as you, sometimes even a little more. And I got to pull you in a little bit, but I'm not going to care. I'm not going to care this much more, right? If you're kicking and screaming, don't apply. If you're looking for the magic bullet, don't apply. If you already did your genetic test and you know everything there is to know about that, I'd like to hear about it, because I don't feel like there's too many people. There's probably some, but not too many people that know this stuff more than me. I'm a nerd. I'm a proud nerd. And I think I know this a lot more than the average person out there, especially you. Anyways, I hope you got a lot of value out of that. I look forward to answering your questions. I hope you understand by now that this is the single most important genetic test, any test. And I hope at some point in time to change the the sickness care model into a health care model. And last and not least is I hope for you to get your life back, because you deserve to have memories. You deserve to have meaning. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to fulfill your destiny of what you've been put on the planet to do. So anyways, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja, and I look forward to ending your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Have an awesome night.